Hey everyone, Andy here. Quick served. I am out in Vegas. I just woke up. I'm here to play Pickle Slam 3, and that's not even the weirdest part about my morning. Now, with the news of Jannik Sinner coming to a deal with WADA for 3 months, starting February 9th, ending May 4th. So we're in a weird spot because we filmed a full episode with the CEO of ITIA on Thursday, Karen Morehouse, where she walked us through all the steps and what might happen. This wasn't on the list of options, so I think we're all kind of taken by surprise. We're going to have to figure out what we can use from that, producer Mike. But I think based on what I've seen, I've talked with Chris Eubanks this morning, and there seems to be a lot of confusion. A lot of people still don't know the processes, so maybe there's something valuable still there from our conversation last week. JW, you woke up this morning. Thoughts?
Yeah. For the record, Karen Morehouse did not know that this was afoot when we spoke to her barely, not even 48 hours ago. So bear that in mind. This is essentially a plea deal, and Jannik Sinner now has assurances he won't miss a major, having won the previous one. WADA is assured that they would not be, that their appeal would not be unsuccessful, the appeal that they launched. I think the 90 days is about right, and we can talk about that. I mean, I think that's fair and proportional to the facts here. I do think we should be talking a bit about the when. I mean, this is suspending your kid for 3 days if it starts on a Friday from school is a lot different than starting on Monday morning. And I think that the manipulated timing is almost more problematic than this 90-day, than this, what essentially is a 90-day sentence.
Yeah, it is. It is. And listen, I don't think. I just say this up front. I don't think Sinner knowingly cheated. I don't think he intentionally did. I think his trainer, fucked up in epic ways. But we are responsible for what our teams do. That is why we are here at a suspension, not because they found Sinner at fault, not because he knowingly was doing anything, but because we are responsible for our teams. It's just. It literally, if you could handpick a date, right? I'm going to start this, I don't know, 10 days after the Aussie Open, and I'm going to end it not even right before the French Open, right before I make my return to Rome in the Masters 1000 there. Like, you could not have handpicked a better sweet spot for Jannik Sinner to take this deal, which is either, strange, or it's the, best coincidence that's ever happened to the Sinner team.
Yeah, the Rome also being the largest event in the country of the player that we're talking about. And you know what's weird about this, Andy, is that WADA never contested the facts, right? They never said, wait a second, you didn't consider what happened on the Tuesday, or someone's testimony was contradictory. All WADA seemed interested in was, you've got to have a penalty in strict liability. It's what you said. If you have a code that says you're responsible for what you put in your body, you can't allow an athlete who tests positive twice to skate. Okay, fine. Why would this have taken this long to reach this plea agreement? If this sort of deal was always on the table, why would it have happened in the middle of February when WADA appealed this not long after the U.S. Open? So, yeah, I mean, the timing couldn't have worked out perfectly. You're right. Not only does Sinner not miss a major, but he gets to play in the biggest event in his home country. I'm sure the ATP is thrilled. WADA, I guess, can say, listen, if we hadn't appealed this, he would have totally skated. Now we've got 90 days, and you no longer can say, hey, my trainer. I mean, think about what would have happened if he had skated entirely. Any athlete with plausible deniability who had doping at the hands of a trainer or someone on their entourage would escape meaningful penalty. That's not a good result. The flip side is that 1 year suspension, that could be 10% of an athlete's career. 1 year suspension when the report said there's no finding of fault or negligence, that seems awful harsh. So I think 90 days is probably about right. But yeah, it's a little weird that this fits perfectly into a window that allows the player to not only not miss a major, but play in Rome. I think that's what's going to kind of stick in people's craw.
What, getting suspended during spring break doesn't count
Yeah,
as much as
exactly.
getting suspended.
Exactly.
It is an extremely convenient timing. I want to know, like, my mind automatically goes like, what's this negotiation like? Right? Like, we're okay. Well, we have to do something. Like, how does this conversation take place to avoid this trial? I think I have more questions about what we're reading this morning than I have maybe going up to this point, right? Like, I felt pretty confident, like, I don't think he did it on purpose. can't imagine why you would put your entire career at risk for, like you'd like to say, a speck of sand in a swimming pool that gives you no added benefit. That doesn't seem like a likely sequence of events. So I tend to believe that Jannik at least was acting in good faith the entire time. Now, this whole thing with you play the first major, you win it, and then you take a little, siesta, and then you continue on with a week, a warm up tournament in Rome, and then you miss no majors. Now, I don't know how this, and maybe it's just, good fortune for the Sinner team, but the timeline is borderline laughable.
Yeah, and how many other athletes? I mean, one theme that you've raised from the start that I think is really valid is not unique to tennis, but the wealthier you are, the more you can afford not just high level legal representation, but sort of creative outcomes. This is a theme of criminal law, and I think what we have here. How many other athletes that got popped say, "Wait a second, you can negotiate these things, and even if WADA appeals, you can still, short of the actual appeal hearing, reach some kind of meeting of the minds, and you could creatively manipulate the timing so you don't miss anything." Why didn't I have that option? So again, I mean, one of the headlines, 90 days, okay, fine, that seems ballpark. Yeah. But there are a lot of questions about the process, start to finish here. There are a lot of process questions that I think people need to answer.
Yeah, and from the beginning, even when ITA, when we first heard the ruling from them, there was no fault, no negligence. Like I said, listen, if they would have suspended him for 6 months, I'd be like, yeah, that sucks, but like you're responsible for your people. Or if it was 3 months, that seems right. Like 2 years, I had like a sinking feeling in my heart about that. I was like, oh man, if there's a world where he didn't do anything purposely wrong, and then you get 2 years or a year taken away, that felt very heavy to me. That felt insane. But like I read the breaking news, accepts deal. I'm like, okay, I didn't even know that was in the offing as like an option. And then second one, like I read the dates and I kind of started chuckling to myself. I'm like, someone's really good at their job.
I mean, WADA actually has on their website an official statement. WADA accepts that Mr. Sinner did not intend to cheat and that his exposure did not provide any performance enhancing benefit. So they're officially saying, hey, we accept his explanation. It's really just about this actual code of and by the virtue of the CAS precedent that the athlete bears responsibility.
How responsible are you for your team? This about 3 months and no majors missed. Maybe that's about where we're at. Yeah, it is all really interesting. I don't know. At least there's clarity now. There's no trial in April. People, I also got a text from Eubanks. He's like, people are running with you. Like, see, we told you he was guilty. Listen, one thing I want to make very clear, like to anyone listening to this, they didn't relitigate any facts. They accepted the facts of the case as they were. It was basically, do we have to penalize him because of a mistake made by his team under our rules? They decided yes, 3 months. The ITA decided no, 3 months. It went to a special panel. Here we are. This is what has happened. They didn't really get the facts against Jannik Sinner to where all of a sudden they could prove that he was doing something intentionally. That just needs to be a base setting for this. And on the other side, that this timing is like kind of it's almost impossible how great it is for Sinner.
Yeah, I just think there are a lot of players. I'd mentioned Nick Jari, who essentially very similar fact pattern. He did not have the benefit of a plea bargain 90 days. I think, there are going to be 10% of the people are going to say this guy is an irredeemable doper, and 10% of the people are going to say this is a complete railroad. And I think most people in the middle are going to say, yeah, in that 90 days, you can't have nothing. A year sounds too harsh given the facts. And yet timing. I like your analogy. This is the 1 week suspension starting on the Friday of spring break is a lot different than the 1 week suspension finals week. And I think whether it's good lawyering or whether this is whether this is WADA maybe realizing that they didn't have the case they thought they did initially, the timing is really dubious here.
Yeah, guys, I never thought I'd say this in my life. I got to cut this short because I have to go prepare for pickleball.
Timing.
Mike, I wish you luck cobbling together an edited version of our conversation with the ITIA CEO. I thought we had like a breaking news show. I thought it was on the edge. I thought we were cool and we were figuring out how to get the tough interviews, and now maybe a little fucky Magoo, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll reach out to Karen too. Karen Morehouse was wonderful.
Yeah, she was great, by the way. She was awesome, straight, clear. And I do think there's still value. She explained all of the processes, all of the facts in a very calm, straightforward way without us getting distracted by Twitter headlines, everything else. So I still do think there's some value there.
Yeah.
Listen, Mike, I'll get back there after I'm done pickling, and we'll do what we have to do to put a show out on Tuesday.